And welcome back, folks. We are going to continue talking about hardware. We're going to wrap up our input devices here with our other category. All right, so we're not going to touch every single kind of input device. There's numerous ones. We're just trying to hit some of the most common ones. We've already talked about the keyboard and mouse, which is easily the most common one, and we've really delved into those. But we're not going to touch on these ones quite as much, simply because with some of this other stuff, there's not as many options. For example, the first one, the touchpad, is not something you generally can configure on your own. Now, a touchpad, or a trackpad as it's sometimes called, is a pointing device which features a tactile sensor, a specialized surface that can translate the motion and position of a user's fingers to a relative position in the operating system that is then output to the screen. So if you're not familiar with what a touchpad is, it pretty much functions very similar to how a mouse will function. Now, because of this, touchpads are a common feature of laptop computers and are also used as a substitute for a mouse when the desktop space is scarce. That's one of the nice things about touchpads, is that they are built right in, so you don't have to run dragging a mouse around. Though oftentimes people will bring a wireless mouse with them, but if you don't have a surface to put the mouse, the touchpad does make for a nice piece to include. Now, let's just really quickly talk about how that operates and functions. Touchpads generally operate in one of several ways, including capacitive sensing and resistive touchscreen. Touchpads, like touchscreens, are able to sense absolute position, though because of their size, their resolution is relatively limited. Unlike, for example, a touchscreen with a lot larger screen, you can get a lot more finesse. Now, for common use as a pointer device, the dragging motion of a finger is translated to a finer relative motion of the cursor on the output to the display on the operating system, similar to how a mouse is lifted and then put back onto a surface. Now, you typically also have hover buttons that are equivalent to a standard mouse's left and right buttons, which are typically positioned adjacent to the touchpad. Either they're above it, below it, to the left, to the right, somewhere there. Now, some touchpads and associated device driver software may interpret tapping the pad as a mouse click. So you don't necessarily have to click the buttons. You could tap the pad and then refer that as a click. Just like right now, I just tapped it, brought up the next bullet point. That's a tap. It also registers that as a click. Now, some touchpads have what are known as hotspots. These are locations on the touchpad used for functionality beyond the mouse. For example, you might be able to disable the touchpad just by double-clicking on a certain point on that touchpad. Or it might bring up additional features that would not normally be something that you would have for a mouse. Now, let's next talk about the touchscreen. Again, this is not something that generally we can go and customize very easily in a device. But with a touchscreen, the big thing here is that you have to remember we've kind of already hit what touchscreens are when we talk about mobile devices. But I'll give a little bit of a recap here. A touchscreen is an input or output device normally layered on top of an electronic visual display of an information processing system. Remember, it's both input and output because you are physically giving information into the touchscreen, but at the same time, it's also displaying the information back to you. Now, a user can give input or control the information processing system through simple or multi-touch gestures by simply touching the screen either with a special stylus or one or more fingers. The touchscreen also enables the user to interact directly with what is displayed. All right, next one up is the microphone. Can't really talk about things without discussing the microphone, so let's just talk about that. The microphone, or mic, is a transducer that converts sound into electrical signal. Now, the most common interface for this connection is either via 3.5mm auxiliary jack or USB. We're also going to talk about the webcam real fast. Now, the webcam, of course, is a video cam that feeds or streams its image in real time to or through a computer to a computer network. All right, so when I say through a computer network, that means, like, for example, an app like Skype. Right? You're not necessarily storing it on your computer. It's simply just giving you that live feed between you and the next person. Now, when the image is captured by the computer, the video stream can be saved, it can be viewed, or sent to other networks via systems such as the internet or email as an attachment. And what I mean by that is, so think, for example, when people do YouTube or Twitch, they do a stream. You can oftentimes save on whatever application you're using that stream for later viewing. Now, a webcam is generally connected by a USB cable or some other similar cable. Most common one is USB. Or it can even be built right into the computer hardware. So, for example, this laptop that I have right now has a webcam built right in. And that concludes our notes, folks. It's a real quick, short one. You guys are going to have a little bit of research on mics and webcams to do. But that concludes our bit on input. So until next time.